What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So we're going to do a stimulus package, stimulus check update. We're going to take a look and a listen to Bernie Sanders. He's going to talk about the stimulus package. And we're looking at votes starting Monday and Tuesday. So they are not wasting any time. And that is good. That is really good to hear. I'm going to let you know my opinion about this whole thing and how Republicans want to negotiate and all this. I'll give you my opinion at the end of this video. And then also there's good news when it comes to the eviction moratorium. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to Bernie Sanders first, and then we'll talk about it.
Bernie Sanders of Vermont, he's been vocal along with some Republicans back in December in favor of putting larger stimulus checks into American pockets. Senator Sanders, thanks for being with us. So to the question of direct payments, there's a group of senators, both Democrat and Republican, who are lobbying the Biden administration and saying the current plan gives too much money to wealthy Americans and the threshold should be lowered. President Biden himself has said he's open to that. Are you?
All that we're talking about here is trimming off some of the spillover money for wealthy people. Right now, small sums of money might go to families who are earning more than $150,000. I have no problem with doing away with that. But bottom.
Well, that's good. So he has no problem when it comes to, because that is the argument, right? And when it comes down to it, I think most Democrats are going to support this. Even Joe Manchin, I think, will support it in the end. And so I don't think it's even going to be a problem when it comes to bringing those numbers down a little bit. And he said 150,000. If it's a husband and wife, they can make up to 350,000. We saw, I did the numbers last week. If you guys want to check it out, I'll post a video up here so you can check it out. But when it comes down to it, they don't have a problem bringing those numbers down. So that's good to hear. They're not going to draw a red line and say, no, it's going to have to stay exactly the same. So that's good.
Bottom line is, in the midst of this terrible economic crisis, we have got to get checks of $1,400 on top of the $600 that we already allocated out to every working class family in this country and to their kids as well. People are struggling to put food on the table, to avoid eviction, to go to the doctor. They need help now, and we need that total $2,000 package.
And you've been vocal that COVID relief has to happen fast, and if that means passing the bill through reconciliation, so be it. Can you just explain, kind of in layman's terms, exactly what reconciliation is and why you think that should be an option?
Well, from a political point of view, the most important point is that it only requires a majority vote. To pass significant legislation in the Senate, you need 60 votes. And frankly, we do not have 60 votes from Republicans to address the catastrophes that are impacting working families today. So the only way that we are going to deal effectively with the pandemic and get vaccines into the arms of people, increase vaccine production, the only way we're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage so people are not working for starvation wages, the only way we're going to open up our schools in a way that is safe, the only way that we're going to put people back to work in restaurants and protect small businesses, the only way we're going to do that is the reconciliation. And we expect that we will have a budget bill on the floor as soon as Monday or Tuesday.
So he's saying the budget bill. So they have to do the budget bill first, and then that will unlock this budget reconciliation so they can move forward with the stimulus package.
COVID is an area where Democrats may get Republicans in some cases on board. If President Biden and the Democrats do go it alone without Republican support, you know, I guess the counter argument, it could burn bridges with Republican colleagues. Does that concern you, or does, at this point, do the end justify the means?
Well, you know, let's not look at it quite that dramatically. I mean, the way you look at it is, should the Congress respond to the pain that tens of millions of families are hurting? Should we be effective and aggressive in trying to crush this pandemic? Should we make sure that our kids can get back to school? Should we make sure that workers are earning a living wage? So the crises we face are unprecedented. We have got to act and act decisively. Now, this is the Reconciliation 1 package. There'll be another package coming along, and it's possible that we can get some more Republican support for that one. That one will deal with more of the long-term structural problems facing this country, in terms of a crumbling infrastructure and in terms of transforming our energy system to deal with climate change. And when we do that, we can create millions of good paying jobs. There may well be some Republicans who want to work with us on that. But right now, this is an emergency bill. It's the pandemic. It's the economic crisis. It's the health crisis. We have got to act and act decisively and as soon as possible.
You know, one of the things you've talked about a lot over the years is when Republicans have wanted money for military increases, for whatever it may be, that hasn't been a problem for Republicans. But when Democrats start talking about money for schools, or in this case, COVID relief, all of a sudden there's deficit concerns. Is this another example of that?
It absolutely is. And the hypocrisy is really quite extraordinary. You all remember, it was just a few years ago when Trump and my Republican colleagues voted for almost $2 trillion in tax breaks for the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations. Anderson, I didn't hear a whole lot of worry about the deficit then. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars going into all types of corporate welfare. We're talking about a military budget with a Pentagon that has never been independently audited, massive amounts of waste and fraud within the Pentagon budget, not a problem. But somehow or another, when it comes to feeding children who are hungry, when it comes to making sure that people who are sick in the middle of a pandemic get the health care they need, when it comes to reopening our schools in a safe way, in expanding the child tax credit, so we deal with the horrendous level of child poverty in this country. When it comes to those things, suddenly my Republican colleagues become very fervent about the deficit.
And just so you know, he was talking about that almost $2 trillion bill that was passed by the Republicans, budget reconciliation. That's what they used to pass it.
Vice President Harris we talked about local television interviews, West Virginia, Arizona, around the COVID bill. Something many saw, obviously, is putting some pressure on Democrats, Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema. How confident are you that you have even enough votes within the Democratic caucus to get the bill through?
I am very confident. Look, at the end of the day, you got 50 members of the Democratic caucus, and we all disagree on something. I have disagreements with this 1.9 project here, $1.9 trillion COVID bill. Other people have different problems with it. But at the end of the day, I believe that every Democrat is going to go into his or her heart and understand that in America today, there is so much suffering, there is so much pain, there is so much fear about the pandemic that now is the time to act. So what? We disagree on this issue. We disagree on that issue. Doesn't matter. This is a life and death proposal, and it must be passed immediately. And I'll tell you something else, Anderson, from a political point of view. We are in the majority now, barely. It's a 50-50 tie, plus the vice president. We're in the majority because we have two great candidates who won in Georgia. And those candidates promised their constituents in Georgia, and it became a national election. The president was there, Chuck Schumer was there. And we said to the American people, you vote for us, and we're going to start responding to the long overdue crises facing working families. Yes, you're going to get $2,000 for yourself and your kid. Yes, you're going to get extended unemployment. Yes, you're going to get the kinds of housing help you need so you don't get evicted. Those are the promises that we made. And it would be unthinkable to me that any Democrat would want to renege on those promises we made, not just to the people of Georgia, but to the people of America.
Okay, so there was Bernie Sanders. Now, I do have one thing that I want to mention that he brought up. So he's talking about the two senators in Georgia who just won, the two Democrats who just won in Georgia. And the talk was $2,000 stimulus checks. It was not $1,400 stimulus checks. And that's what it's coming down to now, $1,400 stimulus checks. So you do have those two senators saying, we're going to get you $2,000 stimulus checks. We're going to get it to you fast. You had President Biden also saying the same thing, $2,000 stimulus checks. But now we find out, well, it's going to be $1,400 stimulus check plus the $600 that you already received. So, I mean, it's one of those situations. I've always said it's easier if you just go with $2,000. and you throw out this, well, 1,400 and 600, just throw that out. Go with a 2,000. If you're going with the budget reconciliation anyway, go with a $2,000 stimulus check. You have Ilhan Omar right now, and she's a politician talking about reoccurring $2,000 stimulus checks, and she's gaining support. I mean, you have other politicians in the House right now that are signing off saying, yes, you know what, we're for reoccurring payments. That's something else that's going to be talked about. I think that's a real hard sell at this point, because you have to look at the Senate, and you do have some senators. You have Joe Manchin that I don't know if he's going to want reoccurring. I don't know if he's going to go for that. He might. It looks like he's leaning towards going for the $2,000 or the $1,400 stimulus check. But if we're talking $2,000 reoccurring, I just don't see him going for that. So we'll have to see. We'll have to follow that. But right now, Ms. Omar, she wants that reoccurring $2,000 stimulus check. And I know a lot of people want the reoccurring $2,000 stimulus check. However, the reality here, I don't think it's going to go very far. But nonetheless, Bernie Sanders there, he's talking about this next stimulus package. They are going to start voting Monday and Tuesday on the budget bill. And then from there, then they can move into working on voting on the actual bill and doing the budget reconciliation. And right now you do have Republican senators, Republican politicians as a whole saying, hey, wait, we want to be involved. We want to negotiate. And the Democrats look like they just want to move forward. And I think that's the right call at this point, because we already know. And I talked about this in a few videos last week, but the crucial thing is the Democrats cannot cave to this and say, yo, you know what, let's negotiate. Although it sounds right, let's make it bipartisan. They don't want to be bipartisan. Republicans don't want to be bipartisan. We already know. We spent the last 8 months trying to get a stimulus package passed, and they could not agree on things. And it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. And I know people were saying, well, the White House at the time, former President Trump, in the White House, they wanted $1.8 trillion. They got up to that high. Well, guess what? The Senate didn't say anything. They weren't even negotiating. You didn't have Mitch McConnell in the room. So that $1.8 trillion that they were talking about before, that probably wouldn't even gotten through the Senate, because you wouldn't have had the support from those Republican senators. And so when it comes down to it, what we're looking at now is the Democrats have the power. They were granted the power by the people, and they need to show results, and they need to show those results fast. And I think they're doing the right thing and just moving forward and going with the budget reconciliation and forgetting about doing this negotiating, because it's just not going to work. And you're going to have, even if you start negotiating and then you see that you're going nowhere and then you go to budget reconciliation, you're still going to have some of those same politicians from the Senate, Republicans, saying, oh, well, they don't want to negotiate. They tried. We offered this. And we don't need all that. Right now, this is the rescue plan. Like Bernie Sanders said, this is the rescue plan now, and then we're going to do a recovery plan after that. That will be the infrastructure bill. Maybe they'll have some more support from Republicans, because everybody wants to bring home money. They want to bring home the bacon, right? So infrastructure bills means building new roads, bridges, things like that, things that people can actually see and say, okay, yeah, you know what? My politician is representing me because they're fixing these bridges and things like that. So all politicians, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, you want to bring home that bacon. You want to bring home that infrastructure stuff. So that might be a little easier sell for some of these politicians. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the eviction moratorium. So it was supposed to expire on January 31st. They've extended it 2 more months. So that's good news. So it'll extend till March 31st. And then hopefully after they pass the next stimulus package, they can extend it even further, maybe into September or something like that. So what do you guys think about all this? Let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.